Hello friends, I am Jibanmala Khomdram, a postgraduate student from English Literature. In this video, I will talk on the topic alienation and how this concept is powerfully represented through the character of Raskolnikov in Crime and Punishment. Alienation, in simple terms, means a feeling of separation, disconnection. A person who is alienated feels cut off, separated, excluded from the society, from other people, from moral values, and sometimes even from their own self. The idea of alienation is strongly connected with the philosopher Karl Marx, who explained how individuals in modern society become estranged from their work. From alienation is not only a social theory, it is also a deep psychological experience, and this is exactly what we see in the character of Raskolnikov. In the novel Crime and Punishment, written by Fyodor Dostoevsky, the protagonist Rodion Raskolnikov becomes a living example of alienation in multiple forms: social, intellectual, moral, and psychological. First, let us look at his social alienation. Raskolnikov lives in extreme poverty in St. Petersburg. His room is described as small, suffocating, almost like a coffin. This physical space reflects his mental state. He isolates himself deliberately. He avoids his friend, his family, even his friend Razumikin, ignores social interaction, and cuts himself off from meaningful relationships. Even before committing the crime, he has already separated himself from society. He feels superior to others and does not want to mix with what he considers ordinary people. This isolation is not forced upon him completely. Most of it is self-created. He chooses loneliness, he avoids warmth and companionship. In doing so, he creates a wall between himself and the world. This is the first stage of his alienation. Now, let us move to intellectual and moral alienation. Raskolnikov develops a dangerous theory. He divides humanity into two categories. First, the ordinary people, and second, the extraordinary people. According to him, extraordinary people have the right to break moral laws if their actions serve a greater purpose. He believes that figures like Napoleon could commit crime because they changed history. Raskolnikov starts to believe that he himself might belong to this extraordinary category. This belief separates him from society's moral framework. He places himself above common humanity. He rejects shared values and universal ethics. In this sense, he alienates himself intellectually. He detaches from the moral system that binds people together. The murder of the pawnbroker becomes the practical test of his history. He wants to prove that he is extraordinary, that he can commit a crime without guilt. But the moment he commits the crime, the action, that something breaks into him. This brings us to psychological alienation. After the murder, Raskolnikov does not become powerful or liberated. Instead, he becomes paranoid, sick, restlessness, and confused. He withdraws even from his family and friends. When his mother and his sister come to see him, he behaves strangely. He cannot accept their love. He cannot speak openly. Even in a room full of people, he feels alone. The most important aspect here is that he becomes alienated from himself. His mind and heart are divided. His intellect tries to justify the crime. He consents to torture him. He swings between pride and guilt, ignorance and fear. He is no longer whole. He is split into two personalities, one cold and logical, the other emotional and suffering. This internal conflict is the deepest form of alienation. It is not just separation from society, but separation from within the self. Dostoevsky uses Raskolnikov to show that when a person rejects human compassion and moral responsibility, they lose connection with their own humanity. Alienation becomes a form of punishment even before the legal punishment arrives. However, the novel does not end in a despair. Through the character of Sonia, we see a possibility of healing. Sonia represents faith, humility, and unconditional love. She does not judge Raskolnikov harshly. Instead, she encourages him to confess and accept suffering. It is through her compassion that he slowly begins to reconnect with the humanity. When Raskolnikov finally confesses and is sent to Siberia, it appears to be punishment. But spiritually, it becomes the beginning of redemption. In accepting responsibility, he breaks the wall of alienation. He begins to feel again. He begins to love. He begins to understand that true greatness lies not in superiority, but in shared humanity. So, what does Raskolnikov tell us about alienation? He teaches us that alienation can begin with pride. When we think we are above others, it can grow through isolation. When we reject relationship and community, it becomes dangerous when we deny moral responsibility. And it becomes unbearable when we are divided within ourselves. But he also teaches us that alienation is not permanent. Through confession, suffering, love, and humility, reconnection is possible. In conclusion, Raskolnikov in Crime and Punishment is one of the most powerful representations of alienation in world literature. His journey shows us the psychological cause of separating oneself from society, morality, and one's own conscience. Dostoevsky reminds us of that human beings cannot live in isolation from moral truth and emotional connection. We are social and ethical beings. When we deny that, we suffer. Alienation, therefore, is not just loneliness. It is the loss of belonging, meaning, and unity within oneself. And Raskolnikov's story is a timeless exploration of that painful yet transformative experience. Thank you everyone for listening to the short video explaining about alienation and its connection with the character Raskolnikov from Crime and Punishment by Fyodor Dostoevsky. Thank you once again.